Moab Minerals is an Australian exploration company with a diversified portfolio of uranium, gold and copper assets. Moab Minerals has just announced the acquisition of Imbas Mining, which holds the right to earn up to 80% of the Sasare Gold and Copper Project in Zambia. The project hosts both the historic Sasare Gold Mine and a 10-kilometre copper anomaly corridor to the north. Joining me today is Moab's Managing Director, Malcolm Day, and also geologist, Byron Dumpleton, who has been appointed as a consultant to Moab to assist with upcoming exploration. We'll be discussing Moab Minerals' strategic expansion into Zambia and the opportunities ahead. Malcolm, welcome to the Stock Network.
Hi, Lel. Great to be here.
And Byron, welcome to TSN.
Yeah, hi, Lel, and thanks to be here as well.
Now, Malcolm, Moab has announced the acquisition of Imbas Mining, giving the company access to Zambia's Sasare Gold and Copper Project. How does this transaction position Moab to diversify and accelerate its growth in the gold and copper space?
Okay, so look, Moab acquired the Moab Uranium Project in Tanzania 9th of July last year. And last month we announced a maiden resource for the project of 27 million pounds of contained uranium. But given the current depressed price of uranium, it's forced Moab to look for other projects. So we've looked at gold projects in Africa because we've got a lot of experience in Tanzania. And of the dozens of projects we've assessed, the Sasare Gold and Copper Project was an absolute standout. And it's a standout for a number of reasons, but it enables Moab to continue advancing the Moab Uranium Project in the background, but it also provides Moab with exposure to copper and gold. And of course, both are at, well, gold's at an all-time high and copper's not far from it. So that's a great time to be in these two commodities. Moab's lucky insofar as the project is controlled by two very experienced geologists, experienced in gold and also in Africa, with Bill Guy and also Byron Dumpleton. So Bill's chairman and Byron's a non-executive director of ASX listed Feeder Gold, and they've got 6 million ounces of gold in South Africa, which is just about to bring into production. So it just demonstrates a level of African gold experience. So Byron's also credited with turning around gold production at the King of the Hills Gold Mine in Western Australia. He's recently joined Moab as a consultant with a view to taking on a non-executive director role in the future. So look, with Moab's experience in Tanzania and Byron's vast gold experience and input from Bill Guy, we think we can accelerate the exploration of the Sasare Gold Project. And look, you know, with the copper prospect there as well, we've got a great opportunity for both commodities.
Excellent. And with the Sasare Gold Mine historically producing 12,500 ounces before operations ceased in 1942, what early exploration work is planned to assess the scale and also the continuity of mineralisation across the project area?
Okay, so let's go back a few steps. The licence is 51 square kilometres, so it's a large licence. In the north section of the licence, there's a 10-kilometre copper strike, which has been identified by historic explorers. There's some stellar drill intercepts, including at 52 metres from surface, grading 2.72% copper. In the southeast of the licence is the historic Sasare Gold Mine that produced over 12,500 ounces of gold. Now, over the last few months, Byron spent considerable time analysing a huge amount of historical exploration data, and this has enabled Byron to develop 3 copper prospects in the northern part of the licence. He's also identified a 1.6 kilometre gold corridor around the Sasare Gold Mine. Now, our main focus is going to be the gold corridor for a few reasons. One, because of the price of gold, and two, because we think this is the most prospective of the prospects. There's lots of artisanal miners all over the copper area, the 3 prospects, and also around the historic Sasare Gold Mine. This just demonstrates mineralisation there. They're still active, which means they're still mining. Again, demonstrates mineralogy. We've had a local team on the ground for the last week, and they've done a reconnaissance survey, and they've been taking rock chip samples throughout the copper prospects and also around the Sasare Gold Mine. They've had a drone out on the project, and that's provided us with some great imagery. That'll be very helpful for exploration planning. Now that we've got the results of this reconnaissance survey, that'll help us with drill program planning around the historic gold mine and also the copper prospects as well. So Byron's developed exploration targets for both the copper prospects and the gold project. And our exploration manager, along with Byron, have already started planning for the drilling. So we've got a shareholders meeting late next month. Once the shareholder meeting is finished, then we can hit the ground running. By then we'll know exactly where we should be drilling. So it's exciting times ahead for Moab shareholders.
Great to hear. Thank you, Malcolm. And looking closer now at geological prospectivity and the exploration model, Byron, you're a geologist and also shareholder of Imbas. Can you expand on the iron oxide copper gold style exploration model that is being applied to Sasare? And also, what are the key geological indicators suggesting this system could host significant gold and copper resources?
Yeah, thanks, Lee. Yeah, well, firstly, what I'll do, I'll go through, the key points that sort of drive this, what we think is an IOCG. Just remember, IOCG falls into a big bucket of geology terms and so on. But importantly, what I see it ticks a lot of the boxes for the key components of a potential IOCG. Firstly is the mineralisation. I mean, for an IOCG, the principal characteristics is the abundance of iron oxide minerals. Based on mapping that's been conducted previously, and plus on the team I've got there at the moment, they are seeing widespread iron alteration. Also, historic airborne magnetics also suggests there's a significant iron alteration that occurs over tens of kilometres. This was all conducted back in the mid to early 2000s by African Eagle Resources. And also importantly, what we see also on our tenement, as Malcolm alluded to, is that we see a lot of copper anomalism, and we can trace this on our tenement for over 10 kilometres. So we're also, of which the geos currently who are out in the field, well, they were field last week, they're seeing a lot of oxide dusting across the rocks and also in all the lithologies that they were looking at across the northern sections of the tenement. And also, as more importantly, as you would have seen in our announcement last Thursday, the 46 holes that were drilled by African Eagle Resources for about 6,400 metres, it demonstrated the potential for economic mineralisation, and including a fantastic hole of 52 metres at 2.7. I have to disclose there that hole did drill along strike and, or should say, down the structure and along strike. But more importantly, a lot of the other holes that were drilled perpendicular to the strike of the copper mineralisation there, we were getting hits of 65 metres at 0.7% copper, which included 7 metres at 2.4%, 9 metres, another hole 9 metres at 2.5, another hole 8 metres at 1.7. That in itself shows some nice strong copper potential in through there. The next important thing for IOCGs is what we call alteration. What we want to see in IOCGs is abundant calc silicate alteration in conjunction with iron oxides, which sort of just mentioned before that we've identified on the tenement. What is striking that is on the tenement, that again identified by African Eagle Resources and the geologists they had there, is widespread hydrothermal alteration, especially in the form of what we call sodic calc silicate alteration. And this occurs on a kilometre scale. So this helps ticking another box for being an IOCG. The other thing that's important for IOCG deposits is what we call morphology. We like to see a variety of morphology. So we want to see veining, breccia pipes, sheeted veins, stockwork, if possible, diatremes. But on the tenement to date, it's been mapped. The geologists in the previous companies have identified breccia pipes from trench mapping in the trenching over, especially Mawazi. They identified the copper mineralisation was occurring in steep dipping shears. In addition to this, this is what we've identified over at the historic Sasare Gold Mine, are sheeted hydrothermal veining, of which I'm sort of treating Sasare as a distal feature of an IOCG system for mineralisation. And on top of all this is also what's important for IOCGs is association with igneous activity. And generally we want to see igneous activity, especially related to late stage granites of, in geospeak, iron A type granites. And it just happens to, with on our tenements to the north of us, we have a granite which has been identified as an A type association. What we also notice on this granite intrusion is the copper mineralisation generally occurs on the southern boundaries of this, and at the Melwazi and Eagle Eye prospects, the mineralisation is approximately 300 to 500 metres away from that granite contact. And also what we're also seeing is that Melwazi and Eagle Eye is hosted in what we call amphibolites, which were generated from original andesitic volcanoclastic composition. Another key thing and a very big important thing for it is what we call tectonic and structural settings. For IOCG deposits, you generally want to be have a lot of localized faults, which are generally splays, and also you want to be sort of close to large major crustal scale structures. Well, where we're positioned, what happens to be on our sort of located to the south of our tenement is the Wembeshi Shear Zone. Now, the Wembeshi Shear Zone is a significant deep-seated structure which runs over 1,000 kilometres, which cuts through Zambia. Now, with this, we believe we're observing second and third order structures which peel off the Wembeshi Shear Zone, especially what is controlling the historic Sasare Gold Mine. And another key feature for all this is with these deep-seated faults, these are the conduits or the plumbing, if you like, that bring in these melts, these hot fluids and mineralization fluids. So again, that ticks another box. So in summary, from just from that, what I've seen over pouring through the data and what the teams that were observed on site, we believe it potentially ticks all the boxes for an IOCG exploration model.
Wonderful. And Byron, you previously served as Chief Geologist at Red 5 before the merger with Silver Lake Resources, along with senior roles with Straits Resources, Newcrest, WMC, and your junior years with KCGM. How are you applying that major gold and copper systems experience to shape Moab Minerals exploration?
Yes, yeah. Thanks for that. From all those years, so originally from working with these companies when I first started back in late '87 on the Golden Mile as a underground sampler, where I sort of eventually became part of the geology team that compiled the geological interpretations for the original super pit. From here over these sort of years, I sort of always specialised being a mine geologist and ultimately becoming a resource geologist. I've always sort of worked in sort of complex gold environments with these companies I've worked with, through to copper, especially with my time with Straits. Probably a key thing, especially my time back with WMC, I was very lucky to be surrounded by a lot of smart and very talented geologists, where I definitely learned a lot, especially working in gold back in my days in Kambalda. Then moving after that, with my time with Straits, sort of when I first joined them, they had the nifty copper mine up in the Great Sandy Desert. From there, I learned a lot about mining, understanding the geology for heap leach copper SXEW operations, and then obviously over time, when they got Triton copper operations running in central New South Wales, I was involved with with Straits then to, you know, where they were mining the primary copper to produce a copper concentrate to sell to a market. So with those experiences, I got a lot of copper exposure and understanding, which was been great for me. While my time back with Straits, I was also working at Mount Mira in central Kalimantan in Indonesia, which is we identify as a low sulfidation mineralized epithermal environment. I was also involved with geological modelling and resource modelling of Hillgrove's antimony and the gold project in New South Wales as well, when Straits used to have it. And obviously my last 10 years working with Red 5, where I became the Red 5 chief geologist. There I initially started working with them at the Siena Gold Mine in northeast Mindanao in the Philippines, which is what we classify as a high sulfidation epithermal deposit. And before we moved back to Australia, we picked up the two projects, King of the Hills off Saracen and Darlow gold operation from Goldfields back in October 2017. From here, we transformed the Darlow gold operations from a 400,000 tonne to a 600,000 tonne per annum operation up to a million tonne operation before we got to understand the potential of King of the Hills, which was, I had a lot of input on the geology of turning that around to be able to build a 4.7 million tonne per annum gold operation, of which I'm very proud of being involved in, especially identifying the geology for what King of the Hills is today as a successful operation. So in summary, from working with all these companies, I've always been heavily involved with exploration activities, drilling, resource development, and resource modelling. So on the back of these experiences, I've developed a strong and operational expertise, which I hope to apply to the Sasare Gold and Copper Project and hope to shape Moab Minerals.
Well, thank you so much, Malcolm and Byron, for the update to the very exciting Sasare Project and Moab Minerals. I look forward to following developments.
Thank you, Lal.
Thank you, Lel.